All right. So thank you, Christy Romano, for coming and talking to Comic Mix. It's a pleasure. We were just saying, this is your first Dragon Con. How are you finding it?
I'm really enjoying this Dragon Con. I'm excited to see my panels that I have every day. Usually, if I do a Comic Con, I'll have like one panel or maybe two. I think I have one every single day that I'm here, which is really great because it really gives me the ability to be able to talk about. Like today, I had a panel just on myself, which is great. And then fans get to kind of ask me any kind of individual questions. Then I have a Kim Possible reunion with Will Friedle and Mr. Marsden, Jason, and it's going to be a lot of fun to just talk about the good old days, just basically anything Kim Possible related. And then we also have a voiceover actor panel, I believe, that's sort of like its own thing, talking maybe more about what it means to be a voiceover actor, et cetera, et cetera. So you kind of get to have all of the knowledge from, a wealth of resources, and that's really kind of what cons are for. I think it gives the fans sort of a really inside look at who we are and what we do.
I think that's really cool, and something that I noticed, I'm familiar with many aspects of your work, like Even Stevens, Kim Possible, just all over the place. I've seen little bits of things you've done, Cadet Kelly, actually, all these different things, but even more than I already knew about when I was looking at all you've accomplished, it seems like you do everything. So I was like, okay, she's directed a music video, she's written a novel, she's been on screen, she's been voice acting, singing, Broadway, teaching. I'm like, is there anything you don't do? So can you talk a little bit about your different experiences and how your career has progressed, how you feel like that's gone for you, et cetera?
Well, I think that's a great question. I think the question of what it means to be sort of a Renaissance woman in this day and age, and how important it is for us to be able, women are naturally able to multitask, so it's really quite a fantastic thing to be a freelancer, because essentially I freelance as a teacher, or I can freelance as a director, or I can freelance as, but it's really important to take the time to develop those skills and make sure that you're passionate about the things you're going after, because otherwise you'll never really be able to tie it all together so that people kind of understand who you are. I'm still doing it. I think people still are confused about me starting to direct, and I'm really, really passionate about doing different things like that. I just actually directed my first feature film, which will be coming out this Christmas.
Oh.
And it has Todrick Hall, who's a massive YouTube star, but we also have Joey Lawrence in it. We have a Nickelodeon star named Sean Ryan Fox. He's from Henry Danger, and then I make a little small cameo in it. So it's an exciting little, Disney-ish film. It's a throwback to the golden days of Disney Channel that I was a part of, and I'm really excited to be moving in, not moving in that direction only, but also sort of broadening my range of things to do in the business.
It seems like you already have such a broad range, as we just said. What caused you to go into this thing and then that thing? Is it, how did that progress for you?
Well, I think things progress naturally in terms of necessity. I think that actors generally have to reinvent themselves no matter who they are, whether it's Lady Gaga or, anybody, really. I think once you accept that and say to yourself, okay, this is just a part of the business, and especially this is a part of the business today, because we have all sorts of different talent out there that don't even come from however people are found, that end up generally starting in a pilot episode that then becomes a series. So we have YouTube stars, we have, anybody, Vine stars even, that are becoming massive celebrities. And essentially you have to be able to fit in the groove of that. You have to be able to what they call pivot, and I think that the more you can do, the easier you will be able to pivot.
So we're only a few years apart. I grew up with Even Stevens and Cadet Kelly and Kim Possible. I watched Kim Possible in college with my roommate. It was like our thing that we did. It was great.
Yeah, there was a lot of drinking games that had to do with beans, apparently, where I guess every time he was on screen or said the word bacon or something that you have to take a shot.
Right. Well, I didn't play that game, but now that you say it, we should do a rewatch. You know.
Well, because I think they have like bacon flavored alcohol now. So
they do. So it would be perfect, right?
Steven's drinking game.
Oh, that's
I
crazy.
should license it.
Yeah. You'd make some money and a bingo game to go with it. You know, little.
Totally.
So I mean that was really, it was fun for me growing up, and it seems like you are one of the people who successfully transitioned from being a child actor to being then, in different roles, and then when you came from Broadway, you went back to Broadway.
Yeah.
Can you talk about your experience going from being a child actor to being an adult in this industry, in the Hollywood, machine, I guess you could say?
It's not easy to be a child actor at all. You have a lot of trauma that happens. You kind of end up feeling as though you have the option of becoming a statistic, like, oh my gosh, am I going to be another person like that? So the tendency for you to either submit to that or to push against it and resist it is really prevalent in most child actors' minds when they get to a certain age. It's funny, I'm here, and I actually just saw a gentleman whose name is Fred. I believe his last name is Myers, and he was on our show, and he played a really funny character. I think it was Tom that he played on Even Stevens. I haven't seen him in probably since the show wrapped, or maybe there was a reunion at some point. So we're talking like 10 years, maybe more, right?
Right.
And so out of nowhere, he comes up to my table and I'm signing. This just happened like maybe 15 minutes ago. And he says that he loves to act, and he probably would still do it, but he's doing 911 paramedic service.
Wow.
And I don't think that a lot of people think about actors as people. I think we see them mostly as just brands and but they really are people going through things. So for me, that was education. So it took me 12 years to finish my degree, but I kept going back. I kept going back. And then eventually I met my husband when I went back, and so many good things came from me just leaving LA and like going out into the world and seeing what was out there and sort of popping that bubble for myself. I think that some of the child actors have a tendency to sort of stay in the bubble, and they don't realize it, but it's actually really damaging. So I even like doing the Comic-Cons for these kids, because I think it really gets them to see their fans, and not in a way that's protected. I mean, Comic-Cons are kind of the Wild West still, even though
especially Dragon Con.
I know. This is supposedly a party con.
It is. It's, the Mardi Gras, the nerdy gras of Comic-Cons, etc. Dragon Con.
Nerdy gras.
It's, I mean,
like
that's
it.
something someone started saying, and it just kind of has started to stick,
That should stick. That's a good one. Nerdy con. Nerdy gras.
I mean, it seems, I think it's, Hollywood, I've been to LA a few times, and Hollywood does seem like its own kind of insulated place.
Yeah.
And I know that I read that you work with child actors for SAG, and they have a, what is it called, Looking Ahead?
Yeah.
And so can you tell me a little bit about your experience trying to assist child actors? I
went through, a couple years ago, I got into knowing about the Looking Ahead program because of Fred Savage, who's a mentor of mine.
Oh, okay.
Fred's from the Wonder Years, and he's a fantastic director, too. And so I was just really encouraged and inspired by him. His first directing gig was on Even Stevens.
Oh.
He recently said that on like the Jimmy Kimmel Show or something about how, that was his first thing, and it was kind of funny. The whole like audience laughed, but everyone starts somewhere, right? So he did a really great job. So I was really inspired by somebody like that who I believe made a successful transition. And we don't think about Fred like that. Now we just see him popping up in The Grinder and this and that. But like, where has he been? Well, I can assure you he's been working. And, he went to Stanford, and he's a really smart guy with a family and kids and a wife and everything. So I was really intrigued by this program that he's the ambassador of. I believe he's on the board. And I asked if I could get involved. So I think that's the best way to do this. I think getting involved, and it's not a charity by any means.
Sure.
But it's different. It's almost like rehabilitation for children that are actively experiencing, potential traumas on set that you wouldn't see them as traumas, but maybe they are because they're not growing up in an environment that's normalized. It's purposefully a different world, and it is that bubble, like I'm saying. So I started working with the Looking Ahead program, which is a part of the Actors Fund. So they have social workers standing by that work with the children, and they have different age ranges, anywhere from like 6 to 18. They go on field trips, philanthropy trips, where they'll like donate their time to homeless shelters to really get the full experience to sort of supplement their childhoods. And they have like a debate team sort of, where it's more of like a leadership committee, where they come together and they really sort of just have this great bonding experience with each other too. And they really don't talk about their, who's your agent, and what are you wearing to the red carpet or whatever. And I just think that I wish that would have existed when I was around. So the fact that it is out there, it would be great if it could spread to other cities besides like just California. Like I know Atlanta here has a really big hub for production, Louisiana, New York, like all of these places could really benefit from this model.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds very important. And I mean, you would hope that the parents of the children would make sure that their lives were like this, but sometimes I think that's not the case, and it's a shame. And so it's good that there is something where people will step in and be like, let's give you a little bit of normal childhood or a little bit of real life and see how that goes. I think sounds like a really worthy organization.
Thank you. And
me
too.
Hopefully will help some. Well, because I always see the stories about the child actors who didn't turn out well in the end, and you just feel sad about it.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, it's like
somebody's life.
It's like, what a shame. Well,
I've lost friends, and I won't say their names, but several friends from Disney Channel have died. Oh. And when you're looking at the statistics, or you're seeing, it's really only like 1%, right? That's like blessed to be in this world of successful child actors. And within that 1%, look at the statistics alone, and nobody's doing those statistics. Nobody's saying, okay, how many of these kids really are either addicted or committing suicide, or it's really kind of scary. And I don't mean to be bleak at all.
No, it's important stuff. It's important.
I really don't.
Yeah,
I would just say that it's something to reflect on and to think about.
Right. Well, and I think people always think, celebrities, actors, they've got money, everything's going to be fine for them.
It's not technically
they're going to be on the next thing.
Right.
But money is not going to solve your drug addiction or your sadness or your whatever it is you're dealing with. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
So going on to some of the other things you work on, I know you wrote a novel. What inspired you to do that? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, it's funny because I did the novel back in the day. It was called Grace's Turn. It was, I don't think it sold too well, but it's actually a really cute, well-received, well-reviewed book. And I know it's online. People can get it. And it's also an audiobook where I read the audiobook.
Oh, that's really cool.
I've been reading a lot of audiobooks recently. I think I've done, definitely more than like 20 audiobooks in the last couple years even. And it's been a lot of fun to get back into that. But this book was just sort of semi-autobiographical about a girl who wants to be on Broadway from a small New England town. And then she breaks into it and gets her first big audition. And it could have been a series, It was a really cute story, and I really enjoyed it. Good experience.
That's very cool. Well, and you were talking about, the book is about a girl who wants to be on Broadway. I think that your roles, in Even Stevens as Kim Possible, especially Kim Possible because she kicks ass, like it seems like your roles, you have had some opportunities to be an inspiration to little girls. And, have you had any interesting experiences like meeting people at cons or whatever the case? And can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I've had really great experiences with fans. I've had people come up to me and say, I watched Kim Possible when my mom was, dying of cancer. I myself was in the hospital, and I watched Kim Possible to get me through. Or I was really severely bullied, and I have red hair, so I just love that Kim helped me get through that time in my life. Like that just happened in a panel today here.
Yeah.
So I hear a lot of really great uplifting stories about how my characters have somewhat inspired young women to get through some really hard times in their life. So I can't imagine that I would go back and do anything differently. I had people, I remember when I had booked Even Stevens, I had a person who later on ended up working with Disney Channel themselves, telling me, do you really want to work with Disney? Because, then you're going to be like a Disney kid. And I really would never go back and change that, I think we paved the way for the Selena Gomez's, these people are millionaires, you know, and while we aren't, some of us are, I guess.
But you're an inspiration and fondly remembered for those shows.
I think it's so important to have paved the way for people. I think that's great.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, from looking back at what it was and what it is now, I think that's entirely true. So
and it's weird because we are really in the middle. The Even Stevens, the Lizzie McGuire's, the even Phil of the Futures, like they're all kind of just in the middle before the High School Musical craze kind of just exploded. And we really sort of were the springboard for all of that. We were the incubators for what Disney is today.
I think that's really cool. So I've got time for one more question.
Okay, sure.
Since Kim Possible is my favorite of all the things I like that you've done,
okay, sure.
I'm going to say, so you worked with some really great actors and actresses on there. You've got Will Friedle, who's also here, who I just was talking to, John DiMaggio.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of great, amazing people. Do you have any fun stories or favorite moments from the show? Maybe one or two. I know we don't have, whatever you want to share.
From the show.
From working on it.
I think overall, it was sad that I was in New York most of the time that we were filming Kim Possible, and I would patch in. But I would never be able to get to do the group records. But the couple times that I did do the group records, between Will and DiMaggio, I could not stop laughing. Like you have never seen anything like DiMaggio and Friedle in a room with the myriad of voices. They try to outdo each other is what happens. And then you're like lost in the shuffle feeling completely talentless and just like, geez, man, like I can do a couple of voices, but these people are crazy. And really just it's inspirational for you to see that because it helps you grow and grow your talent. But I really was so blessed to be able to work with all of them. Trying to think if there's a particular anecdote. I don't think there really is. It's just overall, those group records, I was in like 2 or 3. And just hearing them go off on each other and improvise. And like, because you don't think that you improvise a ton. But the truth is that animated voice actors really do, especially in the comedy world, which is why Kim Possible was so much fun, was because we had the jokes, we had the comedic elements, and we had the actors coming in, like Will, like DiMaggio, that were, throwing out jokes. New, fresh jokes were happening, and we're just really lucky. It was a really fantastic collaboration.
Oh, that's great. Do you have a favorite line or so as Kim Possible that you would like to share?
Sure. I mean, I kind of created What's the Sitch.
There you go.
So I think it's What's the Sitch? Hey, Wade, what's the sitch?
I love it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much.